Middleweight naked motorcycles are everywhere right now, and it seems like a new one is popping up every year. The bike we're reviewing today adds a little bit of sting to the mix. It's the Honda CB750, aka the Hornet 750. It has a couple of great highlights like a bidirectional quickshifter and a peak of 91 horsepower. Today we're going to break down what makes this an incredible value in an extremely competitive class. But we'll also try to be open-minded to see if it falls short against its rivals like the MT-07, the GSX-8S, and the Kawasaki Z650. If you're returning, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Omni. I'm your host. In this series, we try to break down motorcycles that you might be curious about to help you determine if you should look at them and call it a good buy, or if you should walk away and instead say goodbye. This channel is not sponsored by Revzilla. However, we do have affiliate links in the description below. So if you buy something from Revzilla, make sure that before you do it, you click on the link in the description to help support what I do here so that I can pour it back into this channel and make it better for your viewing experience. And if you're watching this video and you're thinking about purchasing a Hornet, maybe check out some of the accessories on Revzilla.com. You might find something you like there that's going to help tailor this bike to what you're looking for. In today's video, I have a couple of segments coming up for you. First off, we're going to do a quick up to speed on the history of the Honda Hornet to figure out where its origins are compared to where it is today. We'll also be sure to give you all of the specifications and we'll check out some features available on the Hornet. After we've completed all of that, I'm going to take this bike out and put it through the paces on a test ride. We're going to do a 0 to 60 test. I'll also handle its low speed maneuvers here very shortly, and we're going to try to see what all of the buzz is about with the new Honda Hornet 750. By the time it's all done, hopefully my verdict will help you decide if the CB750 Hornet belongs in your garage. If you like the idea of what we're doing here, please make sure to like this video so that we can spread it to other viewers who have similar interests to you. My face reveal is not far off. 20,000 subscribers is the mark. We are almost there. Thank you to everyone who has joined me on this journey so far. I'm excited to come face to face with you and show you who I really am. To make sure that you don't miss that video, consider subscribing to this channel. It's completely free. Subscriptions don't cost you anything on YouTube. So all that you'll do is benefit from the content that I put out as long as it pertains to what you're looking for. The Hornet 750 marks a fresh chapter in Honda's legacy of sporty street fighters. The original Hornet was the CB600F, and unlike the Hornet of today, that motorcycle featured a 4-cylinder motor. From what I understand, it was basically a retuned CBR 600RR engine. It featured different internal components and a lower redline. But even still, that motorcycle helped define what a lightweight, torquey, and sharp-handling naked bike could possibly be. In 2025, Honda has refined that formula, and they returned with a 755cc parallel twin, which here in the United States, we knew in the Honda Transalp before this motorcycle came to US soil. We never did get the first generation, and this is the first time we're seeing this bike here. It's a rock-solid answer from Honda in the modern middleweight segment. It's a platform that perfectly balances performance, weight, and maneuverability. You have torque on tap whenever you ask for it, and although the horsepower number might lack up top, I find that motorcycles in this segment are exciting to ride because it forces you to interact with them to extract the most performance out of the engine. Compare this to a 1000cc naked, which is what I have in my garage, and I find that I don't have to interact with it as much because there's always so much power on tap every second that you demand it. Where motorcycles in this segment actually require you to play with it and experiment with what this bike can do to get the most power out of it. It's obvious that Honda is aiming squarely at riders who want the agility of a 650cc class machine, but with real-world torque and tech by simply just improving the displacement to 100cc's greater. Or if you want to be technical, 105. Now that we know what the Honda Hornet is all about, let's break down the specs. At the front, you have a set of 296mm front discs, pinched between a radially mounted 4-piston caliper. In the rear, you have a single 240mm disc, pinched between a single caliper. Honda usually chooses Showa suspension, and that stays the same on the Hornet. We have a set of 41mm front forks that are separate function forks with a big piston. They are inverted, which gives the bike a really sporty look. At this price point, they are not adjustable, and the suspension in the rear is a standard monoshock, which is also not adjustable aside from the preload. The beating heart of the Hornet 750 is a 755cc parallel twin with a 270-degree firing interval. This motor uses Honda's proprietary and patented Unicam system. The Unicam system is absolutely worth calling out. Honda's Unicam allows us to utilize a single overhead cam to actuate both the intake and the exhaust valves. This not only saves weight, but makes the engine more compact, and it still allows for a thrilling top-end high RPM performance. This Unicam is a major reason that the Hornet can stay slim and agile while still putting out the claimed 91 horsepower. That peak horsepower number arrives at 9,500 RPM. Horsepower is nothing without torque since it is just a function of such a measurement, and the torque figure peaks out at 7,250 RPM, making 55 pound-feet. Our transmission is a 6-speed gearbox to no surprise. It features an assist and slipper clutch and also includes a bidirectional quickshifter. I measure in at 6 feet plus 1 inch. My NC measures in at 32 inches. The seat height on the Hornet comes in at 31.3 inches. I can flat foot this motorcycle. There is a slight bend in my knees whenever I get into the riding position. You can check out the rider triangle on the screen right now to get a better idea of how upright it is compared to a super sport position. And what should be immediately apparent is that I'm not forced over the tank, my weight is off of my wrists, and my seat to peg distance is very manageable. Every gas-powered motorcycle has a usable range, so I thought I would touch on that for this video for those of you who are curious. The claimed miles per gallon is roughly 52 on Wheelie.com. The fuel capacity is about 4 gallons, which means that you have a usable range of about 170 to 190 miles per tank. Doing it just based on the math nets you about 208 miles per tank. Specifications are done. Let's talk about some features. Whenever you're behind the bars of the Honda Hornet, you have to stare at that big 5-inch full-color TFT display. It's easy to read, includes a bunch of data readouts, and you have full phone connectivity through Honda's RoadSync. Within the display, you can toggle through your 5 ride modes. You have access to Sport, Standard, and Rain modes, along with 2 customizable user settings. This is all thanks to the ride-by-wire throttle system featured from Honda. The Michelin Road 6 tires from the factory are a class-leading choice. The MT-07 used to come with this tire, it was a Road 5, but the new Road 6 is awesome, and I'm sad to see that Yamaha did not continue to put the Road 6 on the MT-07, but Honda has done that for us. To cap it all off, we have LED lighting throughout the machine, from the front headlight, front turn signals, rear taillight, and rear turn signals. I know that we talked about the engine earlier, but this is 100% a notable feature on this motorcycle. The next feature I want to talk about just very briefly is this fender on the rear of the motorcycle. This is not exclusive to Honda and applies to basically every production motorcycle in the world today. They have to add this rear fender in the rear, which I do not like. I also don't think that Honda's tail section is very good looking for this motorcycle either. I think they can sharpen it up because it just doesn't look as aggressive as the front portion of the machine and doesn't really fit the design language for what the Hornet is supposed to be, and that is a sharp machine that brings the sting. Now that we've talked through most of the features on this motorcycle, I want to let you listen to the exhaust, so that's what we're going to do right now. Now that we know what the motorcycle sounds like, I think it is time that we take it out for a test ride. Prior to doing that, I do just want to give a quick shout out to the guys who make these videos possible. It is Big St. Charles Motorsports. Check out this ad to learn a little bit more about what they offer.
Out by St. Louis, on the edge of town, Big St. Charles Motorsports, where your machine is found. From Honda to Yamaha, we got it all. It's the Big St. Charles Motorsports Mega Mall. Family owned, crafted with pride. You find your dream on a powerful ride. Whether it's used or brand new, they got your back. You won't find a deal better than that. At Big St. Charles, they treat you right. 2,000 bikes ready, shining in the showroom light. Financing's easy, whether it's big or small. 636-946-6487. Give them a call. Big St. Charles, where the road begins. Hop on that saddle, rev up that V-twin. They got Kawasaki, Suzuki, and KTM too. Whether off-road.
Alright everybody, test riding the Hornet 750, aka the CB750. We're going to begin this test ride in a parking lot, checking out the low speed manners of this machine. We're going to do a braking test, we're going to turn it around into parking spots to show you the turning radius, Let's go ahead and get some heat worked into our tires and suspension and brakes. Let's get everything a little bit warmed up. I had a viewer on one of my recent videos comment and say that my braking tests may not be entirely accurate because everything is not worn in and all the surfaces are not yet mated. There will be some marginal differences for sure, but nothing that should make or break your decision on the machine. All right, we've done about 4 laps around the parking lot. Everything feels much more warmed up now than it did 5 minutes ago. So let's proceed with our normal testing. We're gonna ramp it up to 30 miles per hour and see how many parking spaces it takes us to stop. We're gonna set a mark for ourselves using a white Chevrolet Blazer. It's gonna be this car right here. We're gonna start braking at this line right here. All right, 30 miles per hour, here we go. One, 2, 2 3/4. 30. 1, 2. That time it was 3. Let's try one more time. Last chance. One, 2, 2.5. Not bad. Not bad. Let's go cut a circle between 2 parking spots. Check out the turning radius on this machine. Start right here at a full lock, and here we go. 1.5 spaces. We're in standard throttle mode right now, so responsiveness is 1:1. And yeah, there you have it. About 1.5, 1 3/4 parking spaces. So you can pull a pretty tight turn on this machine if you had to double back in the middle of a country road. But now we need to actually go ride it in a real world environment. The 2-cylinder class of motorcycles has just become increasingly popular. In the early, mid, and late 2000s, we had a lot of inline 4-cylinder middleweight street/sport bikes. And a lot of their technology and motors were trickled down from their super sport siblings. A couple to mention, you've got the Yamaha R6 bleeding into the FZ6R. You've got the Honda CBR 600RR bleeding into the Honda F4i. And that story has changed up a little bit given stringent emissions regulations and consumer desire for more reasonable, usable street machines. And these engines, interestingly enough, have kind of gone the other way, going into super sport styled motorcycles like the R7. Yamaha and Honda are not the only guys using this method, of course. You've also got Suzuki with their new 776cc 2-cylinder that can be found in the GSX-8S, the GSX-8R, and the Suzuki V-Strom DE800. Aprilia with their RS660, Tuono 660, Touareg 660. So it's a trend that we see being implemented across multiple manufacturers. It's not that Honda's late to the game, they just kind of took their sweet time getting into it, but there's never a bad time to get into this class because it's growing. Consumers like it. For a long time, the MT-07 for Yamaha was their best-selling motorcycle, and that was unfortunately dethroned by the R7 because people buy looks for some weird reason rather than purpose of the machine. But I'm an advocate for buying what you like rather than what people tell you to buy, so at a certain point I'll just kind of give up and say, okay, if that's what you enjoy, pull the trigger on it and live with it. But I'm sure at least one of you are watching this video right now and you own an R7 and you're kicking yourself in the ass because you should have just bought the MT-07 because it's way more comfortable and makes way more sense. And I'm not saying the R7's a bad bike, it's just a bad bike for the streets in my opinion because of its aggressive riding position. Jumping back into the discussion with the Honda that we're riding today, the CB750 was in Europe for I think 2022, 23, and 24, receiving an update this year with a new headlight design, slight body reworks, and an updated display and hand controls. This is its first year in the US. I want to say I might be the first US rider to get a review out on this, depending on if someone beats me to the punch before I can edit all of this and compile it together for a viewer video. But where this motorcycle really shines is going to be the price tag compared to the other options offered from Yamaha, Suzuki, and even Kawasaki. who I forgot to mention with their 649cc two-cylinder and the Ninja 650, the Z650, the Versys 650, and the Vulcan S. Now, Kawasaki does have the best price tag on a middleweight two-cylinder machine, but it's a little bit down on features, and it's not the most exciting motor in the world. The closest comparison to this motorcycle, hold on, can I stop without putting my feet down? Yes. The closest comparison to this motorcycle, as I was saying, is the Suzuki GSX 8S. The reason I say that is because it's the closest in displacement, and it also features a bidirectional quickshifter with traction control and selectable ride modes, much like our Hornet 750 here. The Honda gives you a little bit more flexibility whenever it comes to fine-tuning those riding modes. Here on your display in user mode, you've got 3 power levels, 3 engine brake levels, and 3 levels of traction control. The Suzuki gives you power and traction control, no engine braking, but the Suzuki costs about $1,300 more. They're both dead reliable machines. They're coming out of Japan. You can't make a bad choice between the two models, but I think that the CB750 provides exceptional value for what it brings to the table with similar specs. And adding to that, for riders who are moving up the chain and increasing their displacement to further their riding career, the GSX 8S is a little bit porky, coming in at like 450 pounds, where our Hornet comes in at 422 pounds. That's about a 5% reduction in weight for a motorcycle that is also more powerful as well. I've only been on the CB750 for about a total of maybe 15-20 minutes now, but what I've noticed right away is the quick shifter on this motorcycle, which, again, banging value for this class of machine to come with a quick shifter. The Suzuki gets it, but again, you're paying a premium. But what I'm finding with the Honda is during upshifts, it's a little bit more clunky than the Suzuki was. It seems every two-cylinder motorcycle with a quick shifter going from first to second struggles a little bit if it's not under excessive load, but the Suzuki, whenever you're just kind of putzing around, shifting from second to third, third to fourth, fifth to sixth, it just seems a little bit smoother and more refined, where this just feels, I don't know, there just feels like there's a little bit of slop in there. It's not the end of the world. It's not an end-all be-all for this motorcycle. And I think being over 20 pounds lighter, it definitely has maybe a slight edge over the GSX 8S, especially whenever price comes back into the equation. Oh, and another quick nod to the Hornet over other competitive models. This machine features self-canceling turn signals, which is pretty damn cool for, again, an $8,000 bike. I think other models in this class do have the edge in the looks department. I'm not crazy about the way that the Hornet's appearance package looks. I think if they cleaned up the tail section, it would help tremendously. But again, looks aren't everything, and whenever you're on the motorcycle, you're not really looking at it all that much or looking at your surroundings. The only downside is whenever you stop to go put fuel in it or park it in your garage, you've got to turn around and see this thing. Yeah, see that? First to second, second to third. I wasn't laying into the throttle, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it needs a heavier load into it to feel more smooth. Downshifts are awesome, but those upshifts just don't feel amazing to me like they did on the GSX 8S. And maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought it felt pretty damn good beyond first to second. We're gonna get on the highway here and test the highway capability, so let's throw it into sport mode. Yeah, that feels a lot better whenever you're actually laying into the throttle. Those quick shifts really smooth out. Let's ramp up the speed a little bit. That's pretty decent. Let's check out the roll-on power. Let's go from 70 to 90. Wide open. Sitting up. And there's 90. So roll-on power is pretty decent. It almost feels like this engine is maybe a little choked up due to all those stringent, dastardly emissions regulations. Maybe if we downshift from fourth. Yeah, it's got a lot more bite whenever you downshift. Obviously, you've got shorter gears, so that's going to be the case. But the good news is you can drop it down into third or even second gear and get that punchy mid-range out of this 2-cylinder engine to make a pass whenever you need to. If you're ever hovering around something that's making you feel uneasy on the highway, maybe something like this big ass, what appears to be some sort of commercialized industrial rig. That is one big machine. Holy smokes. Yeah, look at the size of that thing. Look at the size of those tires. Holy cow. Someone in the comments, let me know what that is. Is that a crane truck? So we'll get back on the highway in a minute. If you've been here before, you know that where we're going now is to do some 0 to 60 testing. Maybe we'll pick the front tire up off the ground on this machine. Yeah, those quick shifts, whenever you're actually in the throttle, cleans up a ton. So if you've been watching the entire video up to this point, just keep that in mind with everything that I've mentioned previously. And if you just fast forwarded to this segment, maybe go back and watch the rest to see exactly what I'm talking about right now. But from right here, we're going to go ahead and hop into our user mode setting. We're going to have to turn our power up on user 1. We're going to have to turn our torque control off. Otherwise, it's going to restrict our ability to fire out of the hole to get a good 0 to 60 time. Now that we've made those necessary adjustments, let's do this. 0 to 60, 2025 Honda Hornet. I actually squealed the back tire on the launch there. Whoops. Let's try that again. See if we can get a better result. Yep, that's because I started on that little patch of sand right there. You can see my little skid mark. So let's move up a little bit. Let's try to get away from this stuff. Take 2. 2025 Honda Hornet 0 to 60. That one felt really good. I'm happy with that. Really happy with that. Good job, little Hornet. But now begs the question, can the 2025 Honda Hornet Wheelie? Yes, it can. Can it wheelie better? Why is it doing that? Okay, so I noticed whenever I shifted from first to second, I used the quick shifter and it cut power, it felt like. I lost my ability to keep the wheel in the air. So let's go to second with a clutch up and let's try that. There we go. That feels pretty good. This bike is balanced really well for wheelies, it seems like. It's a hooligan machine. It loses a significant amount of power going from second to third on a quick shift. I know it's cutting ignition and all that stuff to help us slip into the next gear, but I've had plenty of other bikes that I can do that with that don't lose power like that, which is fine, not the end of the world. All right, let's put it back into standard mode and let's just ride the bike like a normal human, someone who would use it for maybe day-to-day commuting. Twin-cylinder motorcycles, there's a very abundant point in the RPM range where the top-end power really takes a nosedive, and this is a motorcycle that you can feel that on. An ECU flash will remedy some of that, but you can only do so much. And a lot of guys are saying it doesn't feel the same as the CB600 Hornet or the CB900 or Hornet 919, but this is another middleweight naked where using it like normal and ramping up to 100 miles per hour happens pretty quickly, but beyond that, it's not really super thrilling. While we're here, let's talk about the mirrors. Great usability. 90% usability. I'll put the schematic on the screen like I did in my last video. From here in, useless because all I'm looking at is my bicep and shoulder, but here out I can see everything behind me, just like a good set of mirrors should do, and they don't seem to be rattling themselves apart. There's a little vibration from the natural imbalance of a 2-cylinder motor, but nothing that would scare you off from using your mirrors. And if you don't like these mirrors, there is a huge selection available at Revzilla.com. You can also refer to eBay as well if you're more familiar with that or don't have access to Revzilla where you're watching this video from. Speaking of vibration, there's a little bit in my foot pegs, a slight tinge of it in the handlebars, and a little bit in the saddle itself. But overall, the bike feels like it's damped pretty well with vibration isolators. Before I forget, you guys know that I'm 6'1" if you watched the beginning of the video. This rear tail section, I don't really hate this, but I can feel it in the lower section of my back. Like the rear seat, I'm just butted up against it, which is great for holding you in the saddle whenever you're riding hard. But it is there, it is present. If you're taller than me, you might find some discomfort in that. I've kind of just forgotten about it, even though I can feel it the entire time. And a lot of that's gonna depend on your inseam as well. But if you're 6'2" and taller, I strongly recommend that you go sit on this motorcycle before you just pull the trigger on it willy-nilly, because this is something that you definitely should verify you can live with. I really think Honda came out swinging with this thing. I was hoping for maybe a little bit more, and I'm a snob when it comes to cruise control, so I'm a little miffed that this bike didn't get cruise control, especially because it's a ride-by-wire bike. It's a line of code and a button. And I know that they have the code and the buttons because this uses the same instrument clusters on your hand controls as the Rebel 1100. There should be a cruise control button right here and a cruise control modulator over here. So kind of burns me that Honda doesn't provide that with this motorcycle, but we can't have it all, and you know, we have to cut corners somewhere, like a skinnier rear tire, an axial brake lever, and no cruise control. But the rest of the bike, I think, makes up for it, and if you're not doing like long distance stuff, not a big deal. But anyway, let's talk about this bike and see if we can put a logical conclusion together on who it is for and who it is not for. So first, let's talk about the negatives. Like I just said, there's no cruise control on this bike. It's a ride-by-wire machine. It should have cruise control. Again, we do have to cut corners in certain areas so that we can deliver an excellent price. I would say the brakes, at best, are average, and maybe just a step above par for the course. They get the job done. This is obviously a naked motorcycle, so wind protection is not going to be something that's prevalent. You're limited to what is under your primary and pillion seats and whatever accessories you may acquire and put on this machine. Speaking of the passenger seat, this is a little bit wider than what most sport bikes offer. Not bad, not great, but decent. So bottom line, if you're someone who does long distance touring, highway heavy commutes, or wants to carry a passenger often, the Hornet may not check all your boxes. Its lack of wind protection means that high speed comfort suffers. And while it can do the highway miles, the upright ergonomics and minimal fairing mean that you'll feel very full of wind gust. And ultimately, more advanced riders seeking sharper suspension and stronger braking performance may want to explore the next tier up, like the CB750 Hornet SP. So if any of that applies to you, maybe skip the Hornet and say goodbye. But this bike has a lot of positives going for it. First and foremost, the price to performance ratio. Unbeatable, in my opinion. Best bang for the buck for the current 2-cylinder 650 to 800cc class. Reasoning for that: bidirectional quick shifter, slipper clutch, ride modes, traction control, standard ABS, and great tires out of the box. Oh, and Honda reliability, of course. This bike did an okay job for itself, and I walked away not necessarily ultra impressed, but content with what Honda has delivered. It's light, it's responsive, and it's kind of new rider friendly depending on what your confidence level is. So with all of that in mind, what I think is it's the perfect upgrade for new and intermediate riders wanting real power without overwhelming weight or an overwhelming price. If you're coming off of a smaller 2-cylinder, this is a massive step up that won't outgrow your skill set too quickly. Commuters, weekend riders, and people who appreciate a well-balanced package will love this bike. The engine's torque and the bidirectional quick shifter and smooth handling make it easy to live with every single day. And it's a solid pick for anyone who wants to ride in an urban environment or just carve up back roads on the weekend or have a just practical everyday machine. So if any of that applies to you, I think you could look at the Hornet 750 and call it a goodbye.
Are you sweating or what?
Oh, Fuck, it's hot in here.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, I'll be out of your way in like 2 seconds.
All right, you're good, dude. Watch out, watch out, watch out. You're f***ing sweating, bro.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I take this off, I guarantee my shirt's going to be like 2 shades darker.
You do what you gotta do real quick.
I'll be done like right now. Okay, with all of that said, I think we can go ahead, wrap this up, and throw it to the outro. Oh, and don't forget, if you want one of these motorcycles, you can call Big St. Charles Motorsports, ask to speak with Omni. That's me. Someone should know who you're talking about. I'd be happy, tickled pink, to sell you one of these bikes. Peace. Hi there. Welcome to the end of the video. I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey with my YouTube channel. Like I said, I will be doing a face reveal at 20,000 subscribers. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this content, make sure that you leave a like on it so it reaches a bigger audience who has similar interests to you. If you've enjoyed what I've been doing here, I'm sorry for taking so long to get a new video out, but I've been very busy with some life changes. I bought a home, which is why my office now looks a little bit different than what it did whenever I shot a style video like this last time. Because of that, the upload schedule has suffered, but it's only been for the better, and I'm very happy with what I've done with my life. But none of it would have been possible without the help of you who's watching this video. I have no plans to stop uploading to the Omnimoto channel, however, it will probably slow down a little bit given the current circumstances. I don't have much else to add, but I really enjoyed making this video for you guys, and the Honda Hornet was something that I had accepted was not going to come to the US, so to see it arrive in 2025 was a very pleasant surprise. If there are any other motorcycles that you want to see me review and bring to the channel, please drop it in the comments below. Beyond that, I don't have much else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. Ride safe.